So I've got a 2023 GR86 and my friend Gus has got a 2023 BRZ. There are some differences, but these cars are prepared identically. So we're just gonna go for a super quick drive. We're gonna talk about the difference in ride quality, and then we're gonna install some motor mounts on this, which are gonna make the car feel a little bit more buzzy and firm. I don't like the idea. He does, so let's go do it. So Gus is gonna drive my car because he's familiar with his BRZ, and I'm gonna drive his. And so mainly we're gonna talk about is the differences in handling on the highway. And we're gonna talk about suspension feel. So what are your initial impressions so far?
It's definitely a little bit, there's definitely a little bit more spring rate. You can kind of tell in just the small bumps, some of the speed bumps we were at back in town. It's just a little bit, a little more spring rate. That's about it.
Yeah, so the differences between these cars from a mechanical perspective are very minor. So this does have stiffer springs. It has different valving in the shocks. The front anti-roll bar on this is a little bit smaller on the compared to the BRZ. The rear sway bar in this is a little bit bigger and it's mounted to the subframe, where on the BRZ it is mounted to the chassis. That's pretty much it from a mechanical difference. So these cars are identical mechanically, our two cars. So we are competing in the 86 Cup. So we're running on SX GT Radial's SX2 tires. So when we take his car out, everything mechanically is identical to this.
Yep.
So I'm in Gus's BRZ. We get the handling test here. It feels softer already. Makes the same terrible noises.
Yeah.
So yeah, my initial reaction to this is the spring rate is a little bit different and the valving is a little bit different in here too with the shocks. So my car has definitely got more rebound in the shock valving, I would say. And actually in compression too. This is just, everything is smoothed out, quite noticeably actually in my opinion. I'd say this is a good 20%, 30% softer feeling overall. You're definitely not getting as much of the micro surface imperfections through the suspension. It definitely feels more luxurious, dare I say, if that is the correct if that is the correct term, but it's definitely a little bit dialed back in terms of just the little bit of jitter, I guess you could call it, going over an imperfect surface. This definitely takes all of that completely out of the equation. So the car feels less sporty. It feels a little bit more Lexus-like.
Yeah, I would say lazy maybe. It's like a little okay.
Yeah, so it's actually a better city car in my opinion for day-to-day driving. This is a little bit more comfortable. It's noticeable, but it's certainly not soft. It's just a little bit softer, and it takes out some of those imperfections until you get to the larger surface imperfections now, where the freeway, this pavement is made of concrete, and there's sort of noticeable, probably 1 centimeter bumps or half centimeter bumps. You can feel those here.
Yeah, but there's less, in your car, this same surface, there's a pitch almost to it.
Yeah.
The whole, as the car kind of transfers weight, there's a pitch to it, and here it's just more, I don't know.
Yeah,
smoother.
There's less resonance basically. So those are the differences from a ride perspective. I don't know what I can say about the handling there, because that was just a quick on-ramp and not gonna be able to tell much. So those are the differences. So now let's go ahead, let's throw in the motor mounts and the rear carrier bushing, whatever you want to call that, and we'll drive this again.
Yeah, see how much I ruined the car.
Yeah, because when you start modding, you ruin everything. So we're looking at the rear sway bar of the BRZ here, and we're going to look at the 86 in a moment to see what the difference is. So I can tell just visually, this is a little bit thinner, although it's still a very tiny little baby sway bar. This looks like maybe a centimeter, maybe 10 millimeters, something like that. And then we can see the mounting point over here for the sway bar. You can see what it looks like over here. We're going to look at the 86, and I'll show you the difference in the mounting point. So this is mounted essentially to the body, and on the 86 it's mounted to the subframe. So we're looking at the rear sway bar now. We're under the GR86, and I'll try to put them up side by side on screen to explain a little bit better, but you can see that this is actually mounted right to the subframe right here. So this whole piece, this whole attachment piece, is right onto the subframe, where on the BRZ, I think it was attached to here. The sway bar is a little bit thicker, I'd guess 3 millimeters. Ultimately, we didn't end up installing the motor mounts because they were for the last generation BRZ, and the rear carrier bushing, it didn't really make much of a difference, but we did go out on track, and we swapped cars. So this is Gus driving my red GR86. He's chasing me driving his blue BRZ. And we found that the BRZ seemed a little bit softer. It seemed a little bit more floaty, and it definitely had more body motion on track. But one of the biggest differences that we really noticed was under braking. The BRZ just seemed a little bit more squirmy. You could feel the rear end kind of moving around, and you had to do a little bit of steering correction sometimes to keep the car in a straight line. Whereas the 8.6, the braking was really more controlled and more in a straight line. It just seemed like there was a little bit less drama to it. Also, the 8.6 seems a little bit more willing to rotate on track, where the BRZ was just a little bit less willing to do that. So it was a noticeable difference on track when you're really pushing to the ragged edge, the extreme of these cars. But I will tell you, we were competing that day, and we came in so close to each other. We were less than 1/10 of a second apart that day. So these cars just have slightly different driving styles, but ultimately they are equally as capable on track when they are prepared equally as these cars were. Hope you enjoyed this video. Click on this other one right over here. Thanks for watching.